On this video, I'm going to talk about hellebores, and two in particular. These are less attractive to most people than, say, Helleborus orientalis, which is the pretty ones, which we'll all know. But nevertheless, I really like these. This particular one is called Helleborus argutifolia, commonly known as the Corsican hellebore, or the holly-leaved hellebore. And you can see why the holly-leaved hellebore from there. And the Corsican, because it hails from the mountains, on the Caucasian mountains and Corsica and all those sort of places. And it's great, I love it. Now, one valuable thing about this plant, in fact, we can show you that right now, is it's very, very valuable for pollinators, early pollinators. So the bees, the honeybees, if they come out at this time of year on a nice warm day like today, well, it's frosty still on the ground, but nevertheless it's quite warm, and we've got bees coming onto it, honeybees, as you can see. So it's really good for that. And I'm often asked what the difference between argutifolius is and foetidus. So today, a friend of mine, Des, has given me this. And this one is Helleborus foetidus, and this is commonly called the stinking hellebore. Now, firstly, these plants do resent being split. Nevertheless, Des has gone ahead and done it, and he's been successful because he did this a few days ago, so it's looking okay at the minute, and I've got a good feeling that's going to be okay. But they don't like it, and they don't like being moved either, so once you've got one, you should really leave it in situ where it is. But, you know, if you're like me, you'll lift them anyway, and you'll have a go at it. And that's just what I've done. No, that's not what I've done. It's what Des has done. He's lifted it and he's brought it to me. And I want to add it to my collection. I've had it before many, many times, but to be quite honest with you, I haven't got it up here. Now, this one here, this argutifolius, this Helleborus argutifolius, was already here. Or the parent plant was already here, and then it set off two seeds. Now, normally, I struggle to get rid of these things, but up here it seems to be a little bit more shy, and I've had trouble finding any more. I've only ever found two. We've been here 3 years, and this is only the second one that I've found. So when the seedlings, I do tend to pick them up and move them around with great success. So don't worry too much about moving them. So yeah, the main difference, well, let's show you side by side. It's more distinctive then. So there you go. So foetidus is a lot skinnier leaved, as you can see, very skinny, produces a somewhat similar flower to argutifolius, which is that, although smaller, more fine flowers on it, and obviously the leaves are more dissected on this, thinner, fairly dissected on argutifolia, but thicker, rubberier, and spiny. That's one of the first giveaways with this. So argutifolia is spiny, and foetidus, although it does have these little tiny spines on the leaf itself, they're not as pronounced as on argutifolia. Now, the colour of argutifolia, you can see, is less, well, it's less than that one, and I suspect it's just its position. Now, this is slightly lighter anyway in leaf. It's less deeper green. Look at that, you see, look. The pollinators, the bees, absolutely love it, so it's good for early pollinators. So hopefully this year we'll get loads of seedlings from that, and I can move those around, because I want them all over the garden, really. And at the moment, I'm just not getting it. And we'll have to see what this does. It did have a flower. Des took the flower off. Now, the name stinking hellebore actually comes from when you crush its leaves, not from the flower itself. If you crush its leaves, it's got a pungent smell. A beefy type smell, horrible smell, and that's why it's called the stinking hellebore. Nevertheless, it is a fantastic plant, and will pretty much, like the argutifolius type, will grow in pretty much any type of soil. Very hardy. In fact, argutifolius is native to the UK as well. What can we say about foetidus? It's native to Europe and Asia, but we find it all over in England. So there you go. So there's the distinct difference. So if you've got these two plants in your garden, you've often wondered what you've got. On the left, we've got Helleborus foetidus, the stinking hellebore. And on the right, we have Helleborus argutifolius, which is the Corsican or the holly-leaved hellebore. Although these are a plain green colour, they offer a lot to the garden, and I love this type of thing. The fancy one, Orientalis, Helleborus Orientalis, which we're all familiar with now, is very, very beautiful. But I kind of go for these ones. I tend to go for these. I love the other type. I've only got one other one in my garden, that's Orientalis, and it hasn't done very well. But these are as hardy as old boots, so I don't have many problems with these. You should be able to find them in the garden centres, so hunt around, you should find them. Which one do I prefer? Well, I probably prefer the Corsican hellebore. I like that one a little bit more because it gets up to about 3 feet. So about a metre high, that, when it's mature. And the one that was in the garden when we got here was just that. It was about a metre tall, and it was wonderful. So where can we put them? Well, we can put them in a shaded spot, in a semi-shaded, in full shade in some cases. I suspect they'd prefer a semi-shaded position. So I will look and hunt one out, and I may end up putting foetidus just there. It may suit it there. Looks good there, but you've got to remember it needs the right conditions. Now, it's a short-lived perennial, so it's not like this will be there more than 4 or 5 years before it turns its toes up, but it will have self-seeded by then. And as I said, in some cases you'll have lots of seedlings, in other cases you'll struggle to find them, as I have. So there we go. A little bit about Helleborus, this one being foetidus, the other one being argutifolius, and that just gives you some indication of what to look for if you think you've got it in your garden and you're not quite sure what it is. Okay, thanks for looking. Ta-da.